Hey, coffee makers. I'm Nikki Meza, a senior at Hofstra University, and I'm really excited to be here. I study information systems, but my true focus is on the intersection of business, technology, and human behavior. I gained valuable hands on experience troubleshooting some problems in tech while working at SportsNet New York, or SNY. My entire drive is to build a future where cybersecurity and digital ethics are driven by empathy and adaptability. We have to create solutions that truly empower people, not just frustrate them. I'm ready to talk about making technology more human centered right here on the Cyber Coffee Hour.
All right, what's good, coffee makers, not coffee takers? You are locked into the Cyber Coffee Hour, where we brew up insights and community in the digital world. I'm the People's Chief, Dr. Joseph J. Burt-Miller Jr., and he's the one and only Master Cyber Farms, Alfredzo B. Nash Jr. We both hail from the legendary streets of Mount Vernon, New York, but we're coming to you live and direct from the DMV area. Now, our mission is to share knowledge, deeper understanding, and foster a vibrant community in cyberspace. So grab your coffee mug and let's brew. So for today's show, we will have a coffee chat with Senior Information Systems student at Hofstra University, Nikki Meza. Now, Nikki Meza is a senior at Hofstra University studying information systems with a focus on the intersection of business strategy, technology, and human behavior. She gained practical IT experience at SportsNet New York, SNY, where she handles system imaging and troubleshooting. Nikki is driven by an interest in cybersecurity and digital ethics, believing the future of technology rests on solutions that empower people and are built with empathy and adaptability. Nikki Meza, welcome to the Cyber Coffee Hour. So how you doing, Nikki?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you for having me. This is
Absolutely.
the first time I ever did this, and I'm pretty excited. It's really
Welcome,
interesting.
welcome. That's it.
Yeah, yeah. So that's actually really good to hear because I think that was part of our mission for Fresno and I when we started this is we want to make sure we're giving people the opportunity to really shine and to show like where they are along their journey. So for you to say that this is your first time on the podcast and you chose the Cyber Coffee Hour to be the first, that brings joy to my heart. So, but that's really awesome. But as we always do here, before we get started, we just like to go with the virtual roundtable. So, Nikki, as you are our guest, we'll start first. Just want to notice how things been. We know we just had Halloween, so how do you celebrate? How did you celebrate? Just how things been for you as of late.
Things have actually been pretty good. I can't complain. For Halloween, I was really excited. I just decided to give out candy for once in my life. And I remember when I was a kid, the best houses would have the full size candy, like not the little fun size. So
Oh,
I made
yeah.
sure to get the full size. I was like, oh yeah, these trick or treaters are gonna love my house because I'm gonna give out the full size.
They'll definitely be back next year.
Exactly.
They'll remember you.
Oh yeah. They know they're gonna tag us. Okay, this house has the good stuff. They're gonna come back next year.
Exactly.
So that's awesome. Alfredo, how you doing, sir?
Well, I'm on the opposite end of the fence. As most coffee makers will know and tell, this is what Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and I'm so glad it's over. For me, it was a bit of a triple hit, like 3-in-1 oil. If I can get the coffee version of the Ben Affleck meme, I would just sip this hot cup of coffee and said, "Welcome to November." I couldn't wait. I could not wait. And I can explain a little bit. So, as the coffee makers might know, I said it on John Carson's show, Square X podcast. I am officially in my first year at American Red Cross.
Awesome.
Shout out to American Red Cross. It was my second rotation on call, and boy, was it daunting. For an org that is mostly very critical to the country. It is older than the NSA and IBM combined. And I said, I came into that realization as my on-call rotation ended. I won't go into the details of the tech stack, but it's been about 7 to 10 years since I've actually said, well, do I belong on call?
All right.
Side of desk to that, I am studying for my Security Plus with the Maryland Defense Force, Big Hole. That's a military organization in the state of Maryland that actually sponsored my Security Plus training.
Nice.
I mean, I'm actually humble because they only predate American Red Cross by 3 or so months, and both hit during this month. As I run up and down the state, I actually ran the gauntlet, like you've heard me say on other episodes, and it stretched me a little thin. I actually have to admit that I'm actually glad Cybersecurity Awareness Month is coming to an end. And then my son got sick yesterday, so it was a little bit humbling for me because I said, hey, you know what? Everybody, the phone is going off. Everything's getting disconnected. I have to take care of my son. So that was yesterday. And then right after that, I came back to the coffee hour and handled things back of office for us, which we'll announce on a couple other episodes after this. But handling the link tree and some of the resources, and I'm going to be refactoring them this weekend going into the first. So that was it. I mean, it was a little bit daunting getting through October, and I have to say, in 7 or so years, I actually really felt pretty tired.
Yeah, man. Well, I hope we get some good rest now. But for me, especially with Halloween. So Halloween is my favorite holiday. So the way I celebrated, I went on a Ghostbusters movie marathon.
Look at that.
From the very first one right to the end. Now, I may get some flack for this, but I don't recognize the 2016 movie that came out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, I might get hate for it, but I watched it. I gave it a chance. I think I watched it twice. I tried, but not last night. From before. No, it's not. In my opinion.
Yeah, wait a second. Okay, so hold on. Which one is that? Just remind. That's not the one with
that was the one where it was all woman cast.
Yeah, I don't. So, do you think the second one played homage more to the original? Then
say that again.
Do you think the 2024?
The 2016 was the one they did a reboot. They tried to do a reboot, but then they just did it with an all woman cast. So it was like Jenny McCarthy.
I'm watching it again. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I think the one lady from SNL. I think there was two ladies from SNL in there. I don't know. I like I said, I gave it a shot. I tried. Because honestly, I don't even think the Ghostbusters franchise even recognized it, because when Ghostbusters Afterlife came about in 2021, they don't even make any correlation connection to that one. They go back to the first one, the 1984 one. So I'm like, come on, man, this is.
But being that we've been around now,
it wasn't good.
Do you think that's an issue with reboots? Like, there's a generational gap now too, right? So do you think that's an issue with multiple franchises that we've grown up with?
I think it depends on how the reboot is done. Because I think it is, in some cases, it is good, because then it brings a new generation in, especially for a very successful franchise, to give an update as to how things are. So give an example, like you look at Coming to America. Of course, the first one, I love the very first one. Now the second one, I still like it. I know some people are like, they may have mixed opinions or feelings about it, because the second one was more. It wasn't all that great, but it was just more. It was more of a nostalgia movie. You know what I'm saying? Just got to show, just bringing back, the old characters again, and just see how everyone was doing in that second movie. But I think it depends on how it's done and what the story is. If they still paying tribute or staying honest or true to the original, because some when they do some reboots are just really bad. Like, it should never even been created. But anyway, like I said, I went on a movie marathon. I watched all of them. Right until Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. So I finished. I finished like after midnight, probably like it's like probably like 1 in the morning. I finished all the movies. So yeah, straight up. So yeah, it was fun. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started here. Uh, Again, Nikki, glad to have you here. So Nikki, so your bio emphasizes the intersection of technology, business strategy, and human behavior. Can you provide an example of a common, business security challenge where neglecting the human element, such as, error or or poor communication is a greater threat than sophisticated malware?
Yeah, so I firmly believe that miscommunication is one of like the biggest issues in current day the tech world and the cybersecurity world because you can build the best firewall. You can have the best like anti-malware. You can have millions of brainiacs, behind your blueprints. But when you don't know how to communicate that really good stuff that you
Mhm.
got to the user, then there's like a big disconnect. Because at the end of the day, I feel like security only really works when people are correctly informed and they're supported. And I feel like more places should really focus on training and how to keep yourself safe and how to keep the company safe, how to keep the industry safe, how to keep yourself safe. And that's the biggest thing that people and other industries have to focus in, that you can have, like I said, the best infrastructure ever, but it's not going to work if the users themselves don't feel secure in their own place.
I definitely agree. I think it comes down to really, it comes down to execution when we talk about that human element. Yeah, you said, yeah, you could have all the, the bells and whistles and everything like that, but if it's not executed properly, if you don't have a good security program, and you're doing any, if there's no governance, there's no any effective follow up or things like that to ensure, or you want to make sure also when you, as you mentioned, training, you want to make sure you're using relevant training, make sure your training programs are up to date. You're not looking at training videos from 1990. I mean, it's 2025. There's stuff that's, protocols and processes that have been outdated a long time ago. So you want to make sure that, yeah, you want to keep your workforce um educated. They're well aware, they have that awareness for any, new and upcoming threats that they're doing their best to mitigate and safeguard themselves, make sure that they're doing their best to safeguard the data that they're charged to protect and things like that. Well, Alfredo, yeah,
Yeah,
Alfredo, I know you
100%.
want to
This is
weigh in.
this is going to be the second time in cyber coffee hour history I was speechless because I had chills when you said there's no way this is your first podcast. I'm not convinced. Because
I promise it is. I promise.
you hit the nail on the head when you said no matter how shiny your infrastructure it is, it always comes back to human training. Today, that's human inference of that shiny infrastructure. Right.
Right.
So in our time, we've had legacy IT, legacy operations, things that come and gone in multiple forms and fashion, and now AI has arrived. So there is the best chance that we have against any of these emerging technologies is that human inference you referred to. And I'm gonna say it again. There's no way this is your first podcast because the last element is how are we neglecting that inference? You hit the ball out the park. So the bases are loaded, Nikki. The last part that you also brought to our awareness is the training of how shiny that technology might be or might not be absent of the interaction between us as humans. Right. So that most vets, even myself, most people in the industry are still not getting that correct today. You got to coordinate and talk across the desk and say, hey, you know what, is our phishing standard and training up to date? So Dr. Joseph, I haven't seen, a new phishing cadence that tries to target me as a security operator, right?
Mm.
The second thing is that you said that's also resonated is that's threat intelligence. Humans have that advantage against technology. Like we look at threats differently, right? They affect us differently. We train up on them differently. And then we also react and emotionally respond to them differently as well. So there's an emotional intelligence that I hear there that again, I'm going to say it, second time in coffee hour history, speechless, because most senior executives don't get that right the way you did.
All right.
Okay. So as someone studying the gap between humans and machines, like we said, what's one specific skill or tool you recommend our listeners may be technical or a soft skill that's most essential or non-technical professionals use to navigate technology confidently? Hopefully I didn't stumble on that too much.
I honestly feel like people have to work on basic cybersecurity hygiene because, with the recent news that we see lately, you see, oh, data breach. You see,
Mhm.
we got AWS servers down. Oh no, like, is that a DDoS? Oh my God, the world's ending. Like, but a lot of people, and I was guilty of this too. You use the same password over and over again. Something as basic and something as simple as that, or it's like, I'm gonna use dog 123. Oh, that's expired. Okay, 1 2 3 4. Dog 1 2 3 4.
Mhm.
That's my new password. But I feel like people think that it's easy for them to remember. Yes, but it's just better to manage your passwords and make them as confusing as possible, because even with AI now, you could even a hacker, could be like, all right, give me combinations for dog and number, and the AI already knows, probabilities, permutations. It knows
Right.
all of that a person doesn't really think about. But I feel like now it's way more easier to crack a password than ever before. And I feel like if more people should have that soft skill of hygiene, like cybersecurity hygiene, then it would make everything much more easier. Another thing is, for example, MFA, multi-factor authentication.
Mhm.
Some people are like, "Oh, this is really annoying. I don't want to touch my Duo Push, or I don't want to touch my Microsoft Authenticate." But that's
Right.
important though, because it lets the system know that you are the person trying to log in. Because if someone has your password and there's no double check, then they can get in and they can see everything. They can see literally everything. And no one likes it if someone went into their house and was like, let me look at your couch and your kitchen and all your all your little tools. Like, it's just that's what I really recommend in today's very crazy world of tech.
I wholly agree. I think it really comes down to making sure that we're educating and informing people and really changing people's relationship when it comes to cybersecurity. As you mentioned, yeah, some folks when it comes to like doing MFA or making sure that they're using complex passwords. I think maybe we have to go and take a step further. I know there's like cybersecurity campaigns that go into it. But even when we look at maybe let's say like we're looking at within our own communities, or even just looking at within our own households, start there. You know, maybe you're showing your family, say, hey, we're gonna lock down our passwords. We're gonna use a password manager, and show go through the steps of how to use it and why this is important. I think that's the main thing is that people will hear all these different tools and yes, to use MFA, but a lot of people they don't jump on it because they don't understand like why I got to use it, why like, or it's not going to happen to me. Actually, it can happen, and as you mentioned, and it also too, Nikki, as you said that some folks they get tired of changing passwords because they don't have to worry about trying to remember it, and they use the same password, just change the number at the end. If you're using a type of password on your banking accounts, for instance, someone trying to get into your accounts. Okay, they got into one. They're gonna try to use that same password. They're gonna do some password spraying and try other accounts that you had to see if they get lucky with any other accounts that you have. And that's just is really trying to prevent a nightmare from being realized. If we can take these steps, making sure that we're taking the time to show people like, look, this is why we're doing it. These are the tools that are available. So that way you don't have these issues, or if God forbid you do get breached, you don't have to go through the headache or deal with any fraud or anything like that. Because a lot of cases, it takes quite a bit of time for anything to get recovered, if any. And again, it's just a headache that you just don't want to deal with.
Yeah, 100%, Dr. Joseph. You knocked it out the park as well. Nikki, I give you your kudos because the hygiene is what usually, as us in this industry as humans, make us have a lack of empathy. So, in addition to the hygiene, some folks might say, well, why don't you have multiple parts of your company in multiple regions? Right. And then we start to get a cognitive bias and say, hey, you know what? Were we aware that when Amazon goes down over the decade or so that we've been using it, in production, is it because of AI? See, we can ask that. We can ask that amongst ourselves, but we never go back and say, well, how do we feel about multiple environments being misconfigured, and how can we train forward to allow people to be resilient to that? So, in addition to the cyber hygiene, I think we're coming of age now and learning what real cyber resilience means as humans, right? We never really said to ourselves that, oh my God, what do we do when Amazon East 1 is down? Right. So me, I'm kind of like, you didn't do what you had to do in the first place with misconfiguration, and people might react to that. People might react adversely to that, and then you start to realize the cascading effect that to the hygiene, people lack the empathy. And I've said this on other episodes as well. You got to feel empathetic for those that don't really spread out their resources in the outage, and then a cyber attack happens. So that builds the resiliency, right? While you're being empathetic, you can be resilient to attack while cloud misconfigurations happen.
Right.
And I think we're gonna call the first audible on that on the Cyber Coffee Hour. I have not heard that anywhere else. I have not heard anyone say, in addition to our glorious cyber tool arsenal, what human soft skills make us more resilient, right? Through adversity, through cloud misconfigs. Now we're seeing the age of AI. AI now knows where all the configurations reside. To your point, Nikki, it's very mathematically easy to figure out how much nines you need for a region to collapse. So I applaud you again. There's in addition to hygiene, which is the first step, the second, third, 201, 301 would be empathy and resilience training, right? Not the technology part of it. We've done that for 20 some odd years, and we're coming to realize mathematically those things can be bypassed in technology. So during your internship at SNY, what was the most valuable lesson you learned about the difference between academic theory and real world system managing and troubleshooting, which you kind of touched on a little too, but
Well, at SNY, really, I learned that theory rarely accounts for pressure. You see, in academic classes, you study the best practices, but in reality, you troubleshoot live systems while people are waiting. And
Mhm.
you see that's completely different than in an academic environment that's like, here is a already pre-made question that I've given to my students for the past 10 years, and you have 30 minutes to complete it, you know? But in a real world environment, it's like, oh my gosh, if we don't fix this as soon as possible, there is no TV show tonight. And
Right.
that is really impactful because, grades are really important. I'm not saying they're not. I am a big nerd. I care about my grades a lot, but I feel like I was way more stressed about people getting to watch the show on time than if I got a passing grade, because I really, I really was, I felt like that's the true difference, if that makes sense.
Right.
It
Yeah.
really makes you notice that you have to stay calm and you have to learn how to communicate and you have to value teamwork over perfection because exams are like, you gotta do this in a certain way to get that ace. But in the real world, there is no ace. The ace is just getting the job done. And no
Right.
matter how you do that, you have to get the job done. And so in the real world, it really makes you think different. There is no textbook, there is no worksheet. There is just you, your muscle memory, and your brain. And that's really what I learned. That's what I really liked about that internship.
No, so what you just elucidated is that there are real world consequences. And I think when you're in those type of situations, that's when you learn the best. Because that's what's going to stick with you the most. That more than you sit and read for a book, reading a book or any sort of theory. When you have that real world or hands on experience, that's what's really gonna stick with you, and that's something that you could take with you as you build your experience, you build in your portfolio. You can say that, hey, I have done this. Yeah, you may have read about it, but I have done it, and you can see the differences between what's in the book and what's out and what's expected of you in the real world. So, and I'll give an example of how important that is when it comes to that. So I like to relate a lot of stuff to sports. So if you look, let's say for like a rookie quarterback, try and get his start. He's sitting back. He doesn't start the game yet, but he's watching the veteran quarterback, play a couple of games, doing his best, try to take notes and pay attention. but in not really to really get that experience or that feel for the game, you got to play. You had to be actually in the game. And so once you finally get in there now, from doing you can do all the practice and everything like that. But once you're actually in the game and doing, hey, this is live. This is like you lose this game, like we actually this counts as a loss. Like so, we need we need to win. That's when you really get to see as that quarterback now finally gets that chance to really see the field, get hit, really for the first time, stuff like that. That stuff matters. And that's the difference. And so bringing it back to what you said is, yeah, there are real world consequences. So when you have that pressure, as you said, Nikki, that's what makes it different. And those are the things that stick with you, and that's really how you build experience and how you grow. And with that, from that experience, you can share with others and say, hey, yes, I know maybe that book says this, but it's not exactly the same when you're in the real world. Because also too, it may be dependent on certain organizations. Certain organizations may run things a little differently. So you do have to pay attention to that as well and see what's required of you and what they expect for results in that environment. So I think that's a great point.
100%. It's like you said. I like the analogy because when you said ACE versus the academic side, doesn't matter. I have 572 books. 172 are in cybersecurity. None of them prepared me for a ransomware incident. None of them in the last decade. The first ransomware incident I came across was at a startup called Datto, and it was CryptoLocker. No one knew how to handle it, and there were poster boys and all these different war room scenarios, which you're going to hear about in industry that you don't have in class. And I actually want to tell people too, when I say it, it is harder to stay in this industry with that trauma, because there is a cyber trauma that comes with an actual incident that is not handled in a capture the flag or hackathon in some of these classes or boot camp. To your point, I was a C&D degree student until I realized that these things never prepared me for my first cybersecurity incident. And I love school, but I hate the academic side where it doesn't tie to these real world ransomware, supply chain compromise, and my favorite, insider threat. So to your point, Dr. Joseph, I haven't seen anything in risk management classes, cyber threat intelligence classes that prepare you for an actor that's just as smart as you are academically, right? So this is the spades game. I don't know if you play, Nikki, but the ace card in that is education's king, but experience is the ace. And when you start collecting these books per particular organization, like Dr. Joseph said, not everyone is holding an ace card. Not everyone understands that the academic hypothesis is not the problem we're solving in cyber operations today, right? The problem is insider threats are just as smart as you are academically, right? So the real world scenario is, how do you level up and capture that individual in your cybersecurity operations? And you can't get that without experience. You can't. Unfortunately, you have to see a company fail. You have to see the business strategies not align. You have to see disaster recovery fail. And you have to see how to recover organizations after compromise. None of that, in my experience with 3 master's degrees, was taught until threat intelligence. Right? There's a real intelligence and there's a real art to catching a sophisticated actor that has a doctorate degree, that has a master's degree, that has an undergraduate degree, that might have multiple, and know the organization better than I do in my 1 to 10 year experience, right, in my career. These individuals are particularly sophisticated and they know our playbook. So 100%, that playbook is not taught academically. It's taught once you get into SOC, right? Once you get into pen testing, once you get into threat hunt and detection, but you have to do it as unlearning what you have done academically. Only under the gun, when you get a alert or you see someone that has particularly craftily stayed under the radar, you understand that the academics is side of desk. The academics assist you, but it's not what gives you the advantage in the real world scenario. My favorite happens to be a tabletop. You have to see a tabletop. You have to play backdoors and breaches, right? You have to go through a threat hunt and detection scenario, and then field training exercise. So depending on the side of the desk that you're on, not all the field manuals align to the actual exercise. Actually going out there, building up the resiliency, knowing your kit in cyber operations especially, and knowing how to hunt a particular Alfredzo level threat or Dr. Joseph level threat, master it to doctor. These skills are leveled up, and you're right, there's no ace cards until you figure out how that person's bypassed the academic defense.
All right. So Nikki, you're passionate about digital ethics in the context of emerging technologies like AI and automation. What's the single most important ethical principle that companies must prioritize to build or maintain user trust?
I believe transparency is the biggest
Ooh.
thing, and I feel like that's way easier said than done. For
Mhm.
example, you can go on OpenAI, and you could read their whole clause, you can read their whole privacy policy, but I feel like no one is really actually reading all that. But at the end of the day, though, like it is important that users do get like a simple, like at least a simple information card on how systems and how artificial intelligence is using their data, using the words that they're typing in, using their tokens, using the memories, that the system saves
Right.
within. And I feel like when companies tell you all that like legal stuff instead of actually explaining how it works, it creates more confusion.
Yeah.
I believe that, at first, I won't lie, I was very afraid of it. I was like, oh my God, this thing is gonna end us all. It's gonna bring the end of the world. But then I actually took the time and I decided to learn how it actually worked. And I decided to teach myself how AI works, how there's a black box, how there's hallucination, how tokens are
Mhm.
registered as literal ones and zeros, that the average end user is like, what is this? But you do have to learn how it works so you can understand and be less fearful of it. People are very afraid of the unknown, especially me. Like, if I don't know something, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so afraid of it. But
Right.
if companies were more understanding of that and they wanted to actually explain how systems and their artificial intelligence and their new software products worked under the big frame and their infrastructure, then I feel like that would be like a really good ethical principle to not only explain to people but to teach people. It's not going to hurt your business, it's not going to hinder, your
Mhm.
CEOs or anything if the people have knowledge. And I feel like that's just really important for the end user to just have basic knowledge of how something works.
Yeah, and I think it's term that we use within the government is byline up front or bluff. You may have like a big document or essay or whatever it is or report, but you bring up the main points, especially when you're dealing with executives or leadership. They don't have time to read the whole thing, but you need to point out the major points to make sure that they're aware of, okay, what's needed or maybe something that's needed for their decision. So you want to, so kind of the same thing as you mentioned, Nikki. You want to, of course, you have the big, legal jargon, which is required still, but maybe some companies would try to slip in something and not bring it up to say, hey, this is a different feature, and they can't legally say they didn't tell anyone it was in it, but who's reading 50 pages of legal jargon? Yeah, so I think that is important, yeah, to maybe to have like campaigns to explain, as you mentioned, what these features do, or what's expected, or how your data is going to be used. If you do this, what happens. So I think it is important to maybe to be upfront about certain things, and then yeah, people do, yeah, as you mentioned, yeah, people are afraid of what they don't understand. Like they see new technologies, and we've seen this before. Even when cloud came about, people going through the same type of deal.
Yep.
Something new, they don't know how it works. They don't quite understand, what's required of them and things like that. So if we're able to get out in front of it, explain it, make it to where even if you did like let's say like a YouTube campaign, and you just did like short digestible video chunks that just explaining what it is about, and some companies do that, I will say, but I think that's what's needed if you really want to make sure you have a great relationship with the public, and you want your product to really be successful and people not to question it. I think being more upfront about those type of things will garner a better result.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think we do lack, like you said, Nikki, a lack of transparency, a lack of visibility, a lack of vulnerability. Not in the sense as software vulnerabilities go, but being vulnerable and saying, "Hey, I don't understand what this advent of AI is going to do to my role and these different lines of business." To your point, in the private side, just like Bluff, we have too long didn't read. Most of the ethical hackers don't read that jargon because they trend on the line of computer fraud. right? If I read all that disclosures, if I read all the things that were in legal needs, I now have the knowledge to compromise the organization. So a lot of folks don't read that or can't disclose it. So what I would really like to suggest is, in addition to the ethical hackers, there should be somebody that goes through ethically and say, are these principles aligned to our business's best practices? And then translate to those both non-technical and technical. Because the technical side of the house is not going to read it. I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm one of them. 2 to 3 years ago, I was like, oh, I can't wait to see AI do a SOC analyst job. Well, it's here today. And it's disclosing information, to your point, across the org and out the org. So on the private side, even some of this lack of transparency, some of the restrictions and guardrails don't exist. And there's a conference you should go to, Nikki, called CyberLawCon. So going to that, it unveiled this world of where I can't disclose everything through my AI prompts. I can't disclose everything through an assessment or legal review, right? Because it's not always technical. It's always, hey, I have to disclose this to another legal firm, and it might be unethical. There's a way to do that most technology folks are like, nah, what do you mean? It's a critical. It's a report that can be on the internet and on a bug bounty platform. Am I going to go to jail? Then that's where it becomes full circle. Like, someone has to translate that with the advent of AI, because we are seeing, much like the cloud, like Dr. Joseph said, a revolutionary adaptation of technology. It's a generational or generative adaptation of a technology that will talk a little too chatty about things we're not supposed to talk about, or be unethical in the decisions that it makes for us when we have vulnerabilities, critical and technological and human vulnerabilities. Certain things that should not be exposed in the same audiences and the same practices.
So, as a new generation enters the information systems field, where do you see the biggest opportunity for innovation? Is it in strengthening old defenses or in proactively building empathy and adaptability in new systems?
Well, well, honestly, I feel like it's the latter. It's definitely building empathy and adaptability within design, because we've spent years, and I mean older than me, patching old systems. This could be seen through, for example, like Windows OS, you know. But the future, I feel like it has to really take into account human behavior. And so instead of punishing mistakes that we've seen, we have to see how the end user and everybody really acts. And I feel like instead of taking something old and trying to reboot it, like you said, sometimes reboots don't always work. I feel like we should take the previous software systems, previous designs, and we can learn from it. Just like history, we see crazy things that happen in history, and we're like,
Yes.
oh my God, I'm not going to do that because that turned out into something really bad. So we can take all these things that we've learned from so many operating systems, so many cybersecurity incidents, so many, unfortunate things that have occurred of over the course of our lifetimes. But instead of trying to make something that is so perfect, something that is so unbreakable, we got to learn from that. We got to take the experience that we got from those things and then try to put them into something new instead of just trying to patch something old that we already know is broken. Because then you know, tomorrow a hacker is going to be like, "Oh, well, I know they patched this because it's just the old version of this. So I'm going to do that." It's going to be something so easy because it's a pattern. And sometimes you got to break a pattern to make it truly fix. So that's what I truly believe.
Yeah.
Let me take that one first. So, anyone listening, if you need a deputy ISO, security operations lead, or anything line in threat intelligence, Nikki is your coffee maker. Because those patterns have a formal name. They're called system design patterns. And I didn't know this 10 years ago, even as a professional, right? I was like, I learned it in school, whatever. Anybody's going to codify it. Anybody's going to do policy as code. Anyone's going to do infrastructure as code. They are failing today. So you're 100% on the ball with that one. The second part is when I see proactively building empathy and adaptability over adversity, right? Human inference, I hear resilience. We're not getting that right in the industry. That learning opportunity, the ability to say, hey, we don't just live in a moat inside of a perimeter and do zero trust architecture. Those are 3 patterns, right? That have been bypassed by that savvy actor that's emotionally intelligent. How does someone respond to me attacking their environment? That's not something we can solve in technology. We have to learn together, collaboratively, and continuously grow in these new world of AI, especially because these systems don't have that advantage to say, "Hey, Nikki, how do you feel about onboarding as a ISO to discuss that with the team?" Or, "Hey, Nikki, we do have this particular problem with resiliency. How would you approach it from a new perspective? We never learned that in our line of business." So again, you're speaking beyond your years, and I'm gonna give you your credit now because you're gonna blow up with that what you just said. The adaptability and the proactive approach is resilience. And you
Thank
knocked it out
you.
of the park. You can't train the old guard or the old dogs like me in that because we're so used to getting hit over the head and systems failing that we're very stubborn to say, wait a second, Nikki has a point. I never looked at it this way. Patching is continuous. It's still failing, right? It's something that I'm kind of trained to say, oh man, maybe we should go outside and come back in and look at it a different way. How many people are tired of patching, right? People are tired of patching Windows, update Tuesdays. We still call them that. They're tired of this consistent wave of alerts for vulnerabilities that come out every 2 to 3 weeks at a decent pace. Then the last part, which I hear from you, is how is my SOC analyst doing? So there is a burnout period. Now, I don't know, folks, if the coffee makers know this, but 18 months, it takes 18 months for the junior to senior analyst to burn out. Nikki, we would like your thoughts on how to help them out. That's what's changing with AI, right? We have to ask across the desk and get the emotional intelligence from our new cadre, Nikki, who just knocked it out the park and said, this is how we should do it. Not why anymore. We always stuck on the why we need to patch, why we need MFA, why we need cloud defenses. No, how do we do that and not burn out our existing cyber operators?
All right, so we have Senior Information Systems student at Hofstra University, Nikki Meza, here on the Cyber Coffee Hour, part of the Alive Podcast Network. As we get into the back half of our episode, delve a little bit deeper into some of the topics, and also just learn a bit more about her, what Nikki likes to do outside of school and cyber. So Nikki, so first, I know that you're focused on building trust by understanding the connection between human behavior and technology, right? So when considering the rise of AI-driven attacks and complex supply chain risks, how does prioritizing empathy and a deep understanding of human behavior actually become a stronger defense strategy than simply purchasing the latest security hardware?
So I truly believe in the difference between qualitative and quantitative. You see, the way humans behave isn't something that you could put into a 1, into a 0, base 10. You have to really understand that when it comes to technology, at the end of the day, humans are the ones that make it operate. Humans are the ones that build it, that design it, that think about it. So I feel like, in this day and age, to truly like understand why we have to put the person first, it's
Right.
because it, it's always a human error. You always hear that. It's always a human error. It's always somebody did it. I didn't update my password. I didn't update my operating system. I didn't update this. I didn't change this. And the reason why is because, like you said throughout this whole podcast, both of you, people always ask the question as to, why do I have to do this? They kind
Right.
of see this as a chore more than a actual security blanket. And people don't like doing chores. People don't like doing things that they don't want to do. But if we just tell people to do things without them knowing, they're obviously just going to see it as a higher power telling them do A, B, and C without any context as to why. So I feel like in this day and age, you really have to understand the people and understand that there are some people that are not as tech savvy, or there are some people who don't literally sit in front of a computer for 10 hours a day and find it fun. So that's what I truly believe. I truly believe that, there has to be more awareness to the people that they kind of just open a computer and they're like, all right, I'm going to use it to go on the internet and do my word processing and do my Excel, and that's it. And that's okay. But I feel like we or everybody should really take into consideration those people. And that's how you truly make like a safer AI net, safer infranet, infrastructure net, just anything really.
Is it safe to say, or would you agree that there's like a psychology element when it comes to effective cybersecurity
Oh yes,
practices?
definitely. Like I said, humans are not. The beautiful thing about us is that we're not machines. You
Hmm.
know, you can't exactly pry someone's brain open and go, okay, I'm gonna change your graphics card real quick, and you're gonna be able to see better. No, that's not how it works. But psychology is just so important in every aspect of life because the threat is what truly kind of makes people really aware. For example, the AWS thing that happened like 2 weeks ago, a week ago, that opened a lot of people's eyes, and I was pretty surprised of my own classmates and my own professors, and they were like, "Oh wow, Canvas is down. Oh my
Hmm.
gosh, like no one has heard of this before." And then that starts to make people think, "Oh my gosh, is like my YouTube account okay? Is my Gmail okay? Is my Outlook okay?" And it makes me a bit sad that it has to come to something drastic for people to actually open their eyes to it. So I feel like if
Yeah.
corporations tried to get on the psychological side of things instead of driving it by fear, try to drive it through knowledge and try to drive it through understanding, and that makes like a safer net and a safer environment for everybody, really.
I like how you said safer net because in a generation's time, everyone keeps fearing Skynet. And that's a real tabletop. You're right. We're not cracking open brains and open up AI yet to unleash on human issues, right? Human concerns, particularly with all the things that failed in the cyber intrusion, the trauma of a cyber incident. So in the inverse, I do feel for some of the technical folks that have to learn the business side and learn the folks that don't understand what happens when your cyber defenses are bypassed. Because it's not this great sci-fi fear that AI is going to become operational and start collecting us in hunter drones or anything like that yet. But there is a trauma to when my defenses get bypassed and the haven that I built is not safe. So most organizations in the business don't relate to how do we get back to that safer net. I like how you said that. Hopefully that doesn't exist somewhere out there on the internet, but it is a safer net when I can rebuild that trust and delve into the cyber trauma. There are studies psychologically talking about the trauma that comes from, and I plugged a shameless plug for Malicious Life podcast. They talked about this not too long ago, where it was, hey, there is a trauma for someone that continuously threatens psychologically by cyber intrusions and protecting the business that doesn't recognize that trauma, right? No one hears about it. You're the unsung hero when you do your job and the company is defended against a ransomware attack. No one hears about that. You always hear the opposite of why we got to do something, not how either. When passwords get rotated, when there's a phishing campaign, when we do a tabletop and show the business quite empathetically, this is what happens when we don't do these things. And this is the trauma that the whole business feels, not just the technical propeller heads that can write decent software and defend forward and all these things that we hear about, but then also the guardians that protect the other business from that trauma, right? So the opposite thought is, how do I get in front of those folks and say that? Just say it quite openly. This is the trauma that we're going to share under duress in a cyber attack, right? And then just embrace it and say, how do we train for that empathetic feeling? How do we train for the next engagement in cyber operations?
Right. You got it, Alfredzo.
Sorry. Nikki, you mentioned the real spark for your focus on security came when you got your first Dell tower and immediately got hit by malware, huh? Can you tell us about what happened in that moment and how that very first experience of being breached ignited your passion to build digital trust and building digital trust?
Yeah, so a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, I had a Dell Tower. It was like my first like personal PC, if you will. Um, and I was playing Minecraft at the time, and I saw all these YouTubers, with their cool mods and texture packs, and I was like, oh my gosh, I totally want this for my Minecraft. Long story short, let's just say I didn't really know where to go, and then immediately I just had a bunch of malware on my screen. And of course, like a child's mind is just gonna be so scared, so confused. And I remember I told my dad, I was like, Dad, I break the computer. So, we went to Micro Center or Best Buy. I can't really remember, but and then you got like the guys at the behind the table, and
not the Genius Bar.
No, not the Genius Bar, because it's Dell.
You went to Best Buy, the Geek Squad.
Geek Squad, yeah.
Facts, yeah, Geek Squad. Shout out Geek Squad. But yeah, no, and that moment kind of just, I tried to forget about it because it was a really embarrassing moment. And then as I got older, I was like, no, wait, that wasn't that embarrassing. That was actually like the first time I felt fear because of something technological, if that makes sense. They always tell you about the dangers of like, riding in a car or, not looking both ways when you cross the street. But they never really tell you, hey, don't click this link that looks legit or else you're gonna pop a blue screen on your system.
Right, yeah.
And after I actually reflected on that time, I started thinking, oh man, I think we should really start telling people how it's becoming so easy to manipulate the mind through technology, because we do everything with technology, literally everything. You rely on so many systems to check your credit card, to process money, to send mail, send an email, communicate. And so,
buy food.
Food, yeah. Yeah, no, yeah, look, like dry, what's it called? DoorDash,
yeah.
or Grubhub or Uber Eats. If a server hypothetically goes down, you're not gonna get your food. But people aren't really thinking about that. People are just like, oh no, I just want the guy on the bicycle to pick up my food and bring it to my house. But no, there is a big technology part behind that. And I feel like that moment I tried to push it away, but it was actually a really big learning experience in how it opened my eyes that a lot of people aren't aware that the biggest threat that you can see online or see in technology could actually be like the smallest, most innocent looking thing. So that's what that experience taught me, at least.
Yeah, I mean that's the quick way to learn, right? I mean, you're dealing with a real world experience, and that's something that sticks with you, and that's something you can actually build off of. Like for me, I remember when I first got started, watching my uncle, work on computers, and for one, just asking him, a ton of questions, and he had towers and CRT monitors everywhere. Mind you, this is long time ago.
You can say how long ago, because we're gonna unpack that. You can say how long
I
ago
was
now.
like, I don't know, like in high school then, around that
Yeah.
time. So,
yeah.
but yeah, just doing that, that helped spark the curiosity for me. Just watching him work on things, take those peripherals apart, and it made me when I got home, I wanted to learn, and that's how I learned. I would take like old computers apart and see how they worked, and that's really how you gain. When we talk about gaining experience, I would say that's the best experience you can get. Of course, you have the book smarts and anything like that. I'm not trying to knock it. It may sound weird for me, going to the top of the academic chain, but I do recognize that yes, you can study all the books, but you cannot discount the hands-on experience, because that's, to me, I think that's the best way that you can learn something that sticks with you. And as you mentioned, Nikki, you may go through something where you may break something and say, oh man, I think I broke the family computer, or where it is. But that's something that resonates, or you remember, and that's how you learn. And Alfredzo, I'll toss it to you. We had a previous guest, I think one of your comrades, he came on here before, and I think he even preached on that. He was like, just go out and break stuff.
Oh yeah, you talk about my buddy Devin. So Devin and I go back about 20 years. So that's so funny you say that, because he'll tell you, like, I was a critical thinker and tinker, and the word that came to mind was hands on keyboard. But Nikki, you've given me a few gray hairs now, because at the same time, my own cousin went through what you went through. And it was like we were kind of like, oh, ha ha, he, and the family computer is down, and they call their cousin, they call Big Cuz to come fix the computer. I'm like, who does that? And then I had to realize I got to unlearn the mindset. Like, how do you feel when something like that happens? Like, your whole family is looking at you like, yo, you broke the, and it was Minecraft too. She's a tinkerer. She did the same exact thing. And I sat, and it wasn't, I think it was Adele, to be honest. I don't know what's up with that, but I was like, hey, why'd y'all call me? Why did she call me? Like, she was upset about it, much like you, and we had to talk her through. Like, yo, this is what happens in the 20 years of people doing these malicious things. Because remember, malware is malicious software. In our day, we had shareware, freeware. It used to be a more benign experience, especially like you said, Brother Joseph. I had to come through critically thinking of what software I share with people my age and younger. Because now, unfortunately, in almost like you said, 20 to 25 years, malware is king. Malware is the one now. No one's doing the benign things and sharing resources with younger folks and saying, this is how you learn about this. So you, Nikki, again, taught me something as the old guard and gave me a few gray hairs that's not known with you guys. My own cousin, same, probably around the same age, did the same exact thing. And I was shocked because the whole family called me. The whole family called me and like, yo, cuz, look, this is what, hey, do you know about this? Can you help us out with that? Can you tell your little cuz, like, this is not what it is? And we actually went to Micro Center. And we're still recovering files and it's a longer term empathetic recovery with something like this because I still have the drive on the other side of this desk. And we're still rebuilding that Dell. So the idea is really like you have to trust and you have to create a safe space to talk about these things, especially now because unfortunately we are becoming the graybeards, Dr. Joseph. The next generation needs to know, like, hey, when you do these things, this is how you recover from. This is how you sit down and teach the next guard that comes into this profession what you do. Because unfortunately, much like the generation before us, your uncle included, my dad, the older guard, that's lost now. That technology, that skill set might be lost. That feeling, that soft skill of saying, hey, sit down with this junior or senior and really look at how this affects your peers. So
Right.
what you just explained to me, Nikki, is you're in a cadre of peers that go through the same thing, and the current guard don't know how to talk about it and discuss about it. Like, hey, look, this is how we recover together. So I think that's another, feather in your cap, Nikki. So you did just share a very challenging and honest very honest challenge about learning how to manage time, pressure, self-doubt on your journey. Instead of beating the clock, you found success by learning how to work with yourself. Could you share one concrete tactical habit or shift in thinking that helped you build that structure, and how has that focus on self-awareness actually made you a better student of technology and security? That was a lot, I'm gonna be honest.
It's okay. It's okay. So if I had to be honest, I'm not a planner. I just do things on the fly. I don't exactly like a schedule of sorts, but I did learn that I do have to be organized. No matter how disorganized I like to be, I need to find organization in my mess. So I actually bought a whiteboard for like $5 on
Yeah.
Amazon, and I have it like taped up to my wall. And anything that like stresses me out, that's like, oh my God, I gotta do XYZ today. You just write them all in big chunky letters. And then every time I see it, I'm like, oh wait, this isn't that bad. I was just making it way worse in my head. And so once you're done, you erase it or you cross it out. And then you're like, oh my God, wait, I can do this. Like you're fine. The world's not gonna explode. Like you're gonna be okay. And just like in technology, again, it even for people who work in cybersecurity, of course, it's very overwhelming. It's very stressful. But even in that disorganization, if even like on a post-it note, right, you write like 3 things you can do and you cross them out, you're like, hey, I can do this. I can fix this. I can solve this. And it's a very tricky thing of going from like, I'm unsure if I can do this to, yeah, no, I can do this. But I promised myself, I was like, you know what? Just believe in yourself for 5 seconds. Like in anything in a day. You can't cook, believe in yourself for 5 seconds. I bet you can cook. You can't code, believe in yourself for 5 seconds. You can code. You can do anything you want to do. And I feel like that's what I really learned. And like with my internship at school and everything, even like this, I didn't think I could be able to speak in a podcast. I didn't think, this, but but I could. I could. There's a quote somewhere: "Stand on the shoulders of giants." I don't know. They
Yeah.
say that academically, like everywhere.
Yeah.
They
And
do.
I was like, you know what? What if I just feel like standing on the shoulders of giants? And I did. And now I'm
Yeah.
here. So
Cyber coffee hour. Hoo ha ha.
exactly.
Look at that.
Steep in your pot of coffee.
Mike Tyson once said that
I took it from me.
he to be the champion, you have to become him. So like it's
Right.
all mental. Like
Right.
so as you alluded to, Nikki, like whatever it is that you're trying to do, you have to believe in yourself that you can do it. Because if you're gonna count yourself out, then it's never gonna get done. You already failed or whatever it is you're trying to do. So you have to have that strong self belief, whatever it is that you're trying to pursue. That you have to say, no matter how daunting or how arduous the task may be, you have to believe that you can do this. And once you do that, then you can push through and then because those tough times will come. It's not going to go away just because you say you're going to do it. There's still those obstacles are still going to be there, but to know, just keep that self-belief. We've talked about imposter syndrome quite a few times on this show with different guests, and that's a real thing. But at the end of the day, you do have to, no matter what, no one else is going to come save you. It's really going to come down to you and to say, hey, this is what I want to achieve. I know it's going to be hard, but I'm gonna push through it. And, no matter what it is, I believe that I can do it, and I'm going to see myself to the finish line.
100%. And also quote the Honorable Mike Tyson as well, because this is where I went to. No plan survives a punch in the face. It's legit. There's a favorite read of mine called The Contender, right? And much like you, I'm super disorganized, but the one thing that I had to contend with was time management. Time management was my vice. I could not get I meticulously dwell. There's actually a thing called dwell time and analysis paralysis in our industry on what's the problem and why I'm trying to solve it for everyone. Instead, I had to become the contender to take it on so it isn't a problem. And that every plan that fails will get punched in the face in a cybersecurity incident. It sounds messed up, but at the same time, what helped me understand, like, hey, time is dwelling, time is being wasted, and I have to help others, was journaling every incident. Literally, I know I might be showing my age now, but we used to have a minute by minute. We used to have a plan. And I took this from my personal life and brought it to my jobs, like startups, enterprise. That's the one thing that helps me say, hey, this plan didn't survive and no one needs a black eye. No one needs to get in the fight. I'm the contender to take this on, right? I'm the one that you want to come to so we can go minute by minute and take down those little activities that we need to achieve. Because when we waste time, it's called dwell time, and we can't respond accordingly or empathetically to an incident. So I heard that, and you said it, in 5 seconds, I can become the contender in incident response. In
Right.
5 seconds, I can help recover the IRP and plan the failure, right? And then there's also something called mean time between failures, which I'm, after 20 years, I'm relearning and unlearning and relearning again how to contend with those failures. They're occurring, and not everyone can handle them the same way. So again, 5 seconds, become the contender, and then also survive that plan, that failed plan. Because it is something I hear even in your ethos, like you got that locked down. And the other side is, how do you convey that to others that can't really do what you just did, can't really self-organize, can't journal, can't, so that's a cross-training moment. That's a mentor moment. That's a mentee moment, right? Showing that is a soft skill that you really can't teach to everyone. And it makes you a contender in the industry. I'm going to extend that kudos to you as well, because not to this day, after 20 something years, I've never had to say, do I need to teach folks that? Like, how do I teach folks to journal these incidents and survive these failures that occur in all of technology? I hate to say it. It's not just cyber, like IT, cloud,
Right.
development works, right? It's all of these things compound and wear out on your dwell time, wear out on your personnel, wear out on your academic folks that you just hired. I think they're called TDPs, right? Technical developments, right? They personnel or programs, they look for folks like you. But if you come into an environment that's inundated with these failed plans, no one's going to survive an incident. right? No one's going to be able to do an audit. Nobody's going to be able to teach you the things in instant. Because think of it like this: the team lead is always going to be bogged down with that. They're not going to have the time to go ahead and say, let's journal these out. Let's help and organize Nikki for the SOC, right? Or whatever role you might take on. Pen testing, for example. We have that baked into our reporting structure. That report is the journal. It shows Nikki, Nikki, the next time we do this is how you need to organize. This is how you need to self-assign certain things to your team. But yeah, I won't dwell too much in that one.
So Nikki, so we're at the Cyber Coffee Hour. So of course we got to talk coffee. So you mentioned that your go-to to power through your day is Green Mountain hazelnut coffee, right? So what is it about that specific brew that gets you through the deep dive research, the late night coding, and the pressure of building digital trust?
If I had to be honest, I didn't like coffee for like the longest time ever. And it's funny because, both my parents are from South America and, like Hispanics everywhere, we love our coffee. But me, I was just like, ew. And then, and then I started working. And I was like, oh man, I'm getting off the E train, into the World Trade Center. I'm like, oh man, I feel so fried. And then I go into the little cafeteria, and they had like these little coffee things, and I go, ew, ew, ew. Oh, hazelnut, okay. And I try it, and I'm like, wait, this is actually really good, and I feel great. So that's how I actually started liking it. And I like stuff when it tastes like chocolatey. I don't like plain coffee. That I feel like that
the
makes
burnt
me
motor oil.
so, yeah.
Or even not even just that. You just don't like just black coffee. Like you have
Yeah,
to, what I'm
no.
getting, you like the flavored flavored
Yes, I
coffee.
love something that, but don't get me wrong, I also don't like that stuff that's like 50% coffee and then the other 50% is like whipped cream and caramel
The
and a bunch of other
foolishness.
stuff. I'm like, whoa, this is way too much. But yeah, no, I think that coffee, the hazelnut coffee from Green Mountain, that's pretty solid. And I only put like 1 pack of sugar in it. It's pretty good. It's actually really good. So try it if you guys haven't.
And that's the shared journey that led us to found the Cyber Coffee Hour. Much like you, the same thing. I was tired of Dunkin'. I was a security guard. I also smoked, which was bad, on my health. And it was a real cup of coffee that took both bad habits away. One, stopping the poor inferior motor oils. I hate to say it, but the 7-Elevens, the Wawas, the gas station coffee was like really starting to bother me, especially when you have a flavor palette for smokiness. When I was a smoker, it was like, yeah, I need to get that. That's the grit, right? But then it was when I got a real cup of coffee, a real cup of espresso, I said, I can quit smoking and we're from New York too, by the way. We're like, it was during work that I realized that one habit was literally killing me and the other one was fueling my energy to go to work. So I said, all right, this is not an amateur thing. This is the amateur hour to keep like talking about this gas station coffee. Why won't I level up? Why won't I level up and talk about, hey, this can help me get through my workday, right? So that was a social hour, one of the startups. And I stopped smoking at this startup that I worked at because it wasn't like someone was talking and telling me about it, but it was like, hey, you know what? You probably should stop drinking that coffee that could be hurting you. If that makes sense. And then Green Mountain. So did you try anything else since the Green Mountain brew that you found?
Yeah, I did. I started just picking random Keurig cups from the little cafeteria, and I was like, okay. And then if I didn't like it, I kind of just chugged it anyway, just so I could stay awake. But I do like, it's Colombian. It's Café Bustuelo, I think.
Yeah, that's the one.
That?
That's
that
real
one. Yeah. That one tastes really good, but it's really strong. So.
Oh yeah.
It's a real one.
Yeah, that's gonna keep you up.
That's the iconic. That's the first one I tasted too. That's the iconic espresso brew. Like, there's nothing, especially, I don't know. In New York, it just seems like the whole city's built on it. I don't know. Right, and then it keeps you going because that's the first one that you'll say you can combine with regular brewed coffee or an espresso level coffee. But yeah, that's the one, and it is difficult to brew that as espresso and not go to sleep because it's very potent. It's very powerful. So I mean, I don't want to take over the whole show with that one, but what else besides Green Mountain? Is there another like top tier? Have you tried anything else besides Cafe Bucelo?
I mean, there's like this chocolate brew from my college that they make in it's called Einstein's Bagels. Einstein Bagel Brew or something like that.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they make like this coffee brew that's with chocolate, and I like that one because I like the notes of chocolate. I really like chocolate, honestly. Like
Yeah.
you could give me a plain cup of coffee and be like, oh, but I put chocolate in it, and I'll be like, wow, this is the best thing ever. So yeah.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah, that is. All right, so let's go. Let's get further into it, right? You said you spend a lot of time discussing the gap between humans and machines. We love asking our guests a fun psychological question to wrap up, right? If you could have any superpower to help you in cybersecurity, I mean, I'm sure coffee makers listening, we said this. What would it be, and what is the single biggest problem that use it to solve first?
Well, you guys know like Cyberpunk?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes, of course. Of course. Like it's literally
that was our that was our group. We came up on that.
but you know how, they can like flip the back of their heads open and
Yeah.
put in I would want that so bad. I
So
would
you would
want
want to be augmented. You would be of the
yes.
few. Oh,
Yes.
nice.
And like
Wow.
if I had the power to literally be like connected into a system and I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool. Well,
Hang on. I
wait.
think this is. Have you seen Ghost in the Shell?
Yeah.
Oh my God! So you still want to be connected to a system?
Yeah, and I've seen like Serial Experience Lane and stuff like that, but I still yeah.
Have you
Yeah.
read Neuromancer yet?
No, but I've heard of it.
Check it out because that's the cyberpunk ethos, right? Okay, and then have you seen Deus Ex Human Revolution? Like, have you seen that series where how they onboard people? All right, check those out, and then yes, you would be like the Major in Ghost in the Shell. If
Well,
you
I try to see it not in a such like a oh no type of way, like more like in the I wish I could to understand the machine to the level we understand the human body, if that makes more sense.
yeah,
Because
that's
as
what
we
all that's
spoke,
based on.
yeah, as we spoke, like for example, like psychology, right? Like that's like a big thing. And
Right.
if I could hypothetically go inside a machine and be like, what is the part of the machine that humans are having a hard time connecting to themselves with? And I'd be like, gotcha. And then I'd pull out my wires and be like, I got it. I did it.
Secure.
So you're getting that like human and machine perspective and then merging it together.
Right. So that is in the lore. That is the augmented. There's so much lore around the augmented folks that kind of upgrade themselves to address human problems.
Right.
But again, now I'm caught off guard because I learned something new. I didn't think folks would want that. I didn't think people would actually want to go ahead and connect to that metaverse because that's where that comes from too. Second Life and all the things we got. And I mean, we got a company called Meta that's trying to do that. They're literally trying to, make the Oculus where I could go in. Ready Player
Right.
One, that came from that ethos too. It's a good read. It's also adapted into Hollywood film, but that disconnection that we have today could be augmented, or they say virtual augmented reality. That's the next level. The people that master that in cybersecurity become a different class of, I hate to say it, but cyber warrior. Like the Major in Ghost in the Shell, she also helps humans and the augmented fight, crime and things like that. The last one was Deus Ex Human Revolution. Because of that leap, I think there's a guy, not Kurtzwell, Ray Kurzweil. He talked about it. He talked about the singularity effect where we can't see that disconnect between the machine plane and human plane, or the machine control plane and the human data plane. We're nothing but data bound systems. We generate data. We're the most complex system on the planet, whether your belief systems or not. And then they're not read by machines, and we can't whisper to the machines, right? So there's a whole subculture about that too, like that comes into the augmented mentality. Like, are you going to augment yourself and lead to a change in the ecosystem? And then how do folks respond to that? So I find that really cool because all of that genre that I just mentioned came from Neuromancer and Snow Crash. So I would recommend you check those rings out, because every generation like that led to Cyberpunk. I mean, there was 2 games before it, but they always look at that as the problem they're trying to solve in the games, right? The detectives. I mean, there's also one in Fallout called a synth, right? Is this?
I love Fallout.
Oh, it's over. So done. Yes.
Wait.
I'm a huge fan of Fallout 2.
I got the
Yeah.
but the Vault Tech
Yeah.
thing
Oh,
from the
wow.
Costco.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Got the little Vault Tech pouch. If
There
you
it
guys,
is.
I love Fallout.
Yeah, so the sense in that game is something like you're describing. They're the detectives that go out and investigate. In the game is called the I'm sure you know, the Common Institute of Technology, but it's mirroring MIT in reality. And so these synths go rogue and they go and commit atrocities before the apocalyptic fall. And there's one detective, I think it's like Valentine. Actually have his statue up here, so it's so funny. Valentine goes and investigates those synths that went rogue, and I won't spoil it, but there is one in the Brotherhood of Steel. And so when he finds that out, he literally has to reprogram himself and say, "Oh, is this a moral issue that I have to deal with?" But these little hints are led to the closing the loop, the human in the loop gap. So we say human in the loop to respond to, like, I hate to say it, physical atrocities, things that happen in humanitarians. But the digital atrocities aren't always understood and seen. So closing that gap after you do the loop analysis, the gap analysis, is what you're talking about. We don't have that ability today. And we don't. And the technology, I hate to say this, you won't hear me say this often, but the technology is not there. The technology is not there to understand how much data our bodies generate.
So, Nikki, last question for you here. So outside of the tech world, your interests include drawing, the gym, and a love for metal and punk rock. So, what is it about that mix that that focus, that intensity, that creative outlet that keeps you sharp and balanced?
Well, I think a big part when it comes to being successful and like specifically this technology world is that like you got to be creative. You
Right.
know, you can't. The world isn't so like cut and dry, cube, triangle. That's it. Just equilateral planes. No, no, no. Sometimes you got to make wavy lines. Sometimes you got to make zigzag lines. Sometimes you gotta. Sometimes you just sometimes there's no solution to a problem, but the solution is there. You just got to be creative about it, Sometimes you
Right.
do have to bend some rules. Sometimes you do have to like not go to the conformity of what you are used to doing. And for as the gym, well, it kind of helped me more with like that mindset that at first, like the imposter syndrome and all that, at first it was like, I'm not athletic. I'm not going to go to the gym. Then I was like, what if I go there for 5 minutes? And if I hate it, fine, I'll leave. Just 5 minutes. But then usually it's like, wait, I did 5 minutes. Okay, I'll do 10 minutes. Okay, I'll do 15 minutes. All right, maybe 20, 25, 30, and so on. And for, rock, I mean, I I really like metal. I really like anything that has to deal with rock. But like my favorite bands are Ghost. I love Ghost so much. Saw them in the summer in Madison Square Garden. Really good bands. I like Sleep Token, like Slipknot, Korn.
I was just thinking of Slipknot.
Yeah.
Because we grew up with so wait, so give us that again. Ghost.
Ghost.
Yep.
Sleep Token.
Sleep Token.
I also like Twin Tribes. That's a more gothic, like Monolith. I really love that song.
Yeah.
I could actually pull up. Okay, yeah. My main thing is just like Ghost, honestly. Oh well, I like Limp Bizkit. That's
the other one. So give us the list so we can include it in our show notes, because we got to catch up. Slipknot, Limp Bizkit. What about is Evanescence still out there? I don't know.
Yes, Evanescence.
Okay, nice.
Yes.
I'm not that old. Yeah.
No, I do. I actually used to be like obsessed with Blink 182. I was like, oh my gosh, Blink 182. What else do I like? 311. I love 311. That's a great band.
Okay.
They're not like rock specifically, but they're more like ska, like Sublime.
Yeah.
I have a
You got All American Rejects on there?
Do you listen to them at the gym too?
Somewhere. Yes, of course. Yes,
Nice.
it's like classics like Green Day.
Yeah.
I do like this one band called Slightly Stupid. It's another ska band. It's like Sublime. I like their songs a lot. I do like Jimmy Buffett. Very different,
Wow.
but you know what? Margaritaville sometimes. I do like Weezer. Weezer's great. I like MF Doom. I like everything,
MF
really.
Doom.
I love
That's
MF
another one.
Doom. I like the
Wow.
Smiths. Sabaton. That's a good one. They
Yeah.
do rock. It's like a historical type of rock thing. Like they sing about like soldiers and things like that. Yeah,
That's cool.
Yeah, so if you
yeah, and
can
But
compile that, and we'll try to put a list together in our
Yeah.
show
it's
notes.
okay. Yeah, I
Yeah,
leave it
no.
love.
We want people to diversify their listening palette, right?
Right. So Nikki, it's been truly amazing to have you on the Cyber Coffee Hour here. But before we let you go, anything you want to share with our listeners?
Yeah, actually, it's okay to fail.
Yeah.
That was something that was so hard for me to accept because I was always raised as like, you gotta get straight A's, you gotta do the best, you gotta be the best. But it's okay to just not do good at something and pause and then be like, all right, I'm not a failure for failing or doing something wrong, but instead be like, it's okay that I failed because I can learn from what I did. And then the next time you do said thing, either to avoid it or to adjust the thing that you did
Right.
previously. So that's all. It's okay. It's okay to not do something right the first time because also if it was that easy, I feel like it would be kind of boring.
Yes.
Like
Mhm.
like I like the satisfactory feeling of getting my code to run. Oh my god, I did it. Oh my
Yeah.
god. Or or just trying to put in your little, when you take apart a tower and you put in your little screwdriver and you're like, oh yes, I put the little screwdriver in. Let's go. I put the little screw in. Or oh yes, I finally put in my 16 pin into
Right.
the plug. I did it. And that's what I kind of really want people to appreciate in life, that it's okay to have a journey. It's okay to fail. It's okay to fall, because the only thing that happens when you fall is you got to get back up. That's all
Right,
you can
and you
do.
get up stronger. You
Yeah, and
get
when
up
you get
stronger.
up, you feel great about it.
Yeah.
Right.
So
And
that's
you're
all.
right. You said it's boring otherwise. You hit that on the head.
Absolutely great. I thank you for that, Nikki. So that's a wrap on another episode of the Cyber Coffee Hour, part of the Alive Podcast Network. We hope you enjoyed our chat with Nikki Meza. Don't forget, you can find more amazing shows like ours on the Alive Podcast Network app. If you'd like to show your support and keep the coffee brewing, you can contribute to the cause by checking out our link tree and donating to our Buy Me a Coffee platform. A huge thank you to all of our listeners. So please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our show. And until next time, stay safe out there and keep brewing. All right, that's it. It's a wrap. We out of here. Peace.